All right, once again, file export. I'll do quick export as PNG. And I'm going to go to my own folder on the server, Art3812, students, Professor Mike. I'll go to week 3. This is exercise 2. And once again, we're learning how to export our Photoshop design and make a prototype. Step 1, export all the individual static pages as PNGs. That's my home page. I'll turn on my layer comps. All my layer comps thing is doing is switching on and off layers here. As you see the eye change, right? And so if I want to, I can, turn on these highlight effects to let people know where they are. Copy that layer style, paste that layer style. Turn on and off. Okay. Export. And I'm going to go to About. Doing highlights on the navigation is not a requirement, by the way, but give you an idea about how to create some interaction. Next is our work. Switch that on. Check out these layers. Other layer style. This layer style. Now I'm turning off the effects, except for our work. That turns on, that's off. And I'll export, quick export as PNG. That's going to be work. Turn on the Support Us page. See, it looks like that. We've got this 2-column body text. We've got pull quote over here, and we've got this donation component over here. I'll export once again. This is going to be donate. And then finally, contact us. Exporting that. Got it. All right, this is what we had last week. So we are going to skip that. So I want to go sites. We use Dreamweaver to help us build sites. And sites are a particular type of project setup in Dreamweaver. So we always begin with creating a site when we're inside Dreamweaver. Dreamweaver is our web application of choice. It's an integrated development environment. It allows us to do visual layout and work in code. Mostly in code for our purposes, but for this project at least, we're going to work in the visual environment of Dreamweaver. I go to my Sites menu up here. I'll create a new site. I'm going to call it Project 1 Practice. And I'm going to save it to week 3 of Project 1 Practice. Okay. Next, my friends, I am going to start bringing in the files I just saved out. I probably should have put it there in exercise 2. My Professor Mike folder, exercise 2 folder, yeah. I really should be targeting my week 3 folder project exercise 2. So that's the project I'm going to work with. So everything I just saved out. So you guys also can be using this file to export out the pages. So I've targeted that. I'm going to save it. And say OK, I'm done. So when I do that, I see all the images here that I just exported out of Photoshop. They're images. They're not web pages yet. In order to be able to publish this on the web, I need to make HTML web pages, hypertext markup language pages, and drop these images into them. So I'll do that by going to File, New. You have a bunch of different types of files you can create inside of Dreamweaver, but for the most part, you're going to be creating HTML files, which are our content web pages. Create a new one. I'm going to save it immediately and call it index. This will be my home page. Every time you create a home page for the web, it'll generally be called index. And the reason is when you're serving up a website, the web server is looking for what it might call its home page or index page. And it serves that up. When it's called index, it knows to serve it up. So Dreamweaver has an interesting interface. It's a split interface at the moment. I can go back and forth between code, just working in text code. I can split between the design environment and the code environment, or I can go to the design only. I like to work in the split environment when I have a wide enough monitor, which I always do. And mine happens to be split vertically. Yours may be split horizontally, like that. But I like vertically so I can read the code and how to suggest it. So let's assume I'm on my home page. I'm going to take the home page image there and I'm going to drop it into the page. Drop it into the design view here. Make sure your page is not live, but in design view. And you're going to drop that home image right into it. So save it. Next up, what we want to do is work on creating the hotspots. The hotspots allow us to create simulated links. And we use a tool called the image map tool down there that allows us to create hotspots. So we access it through doing two things. We need our properties palette up, window properties. So your properties palette. And I'm going to switch to this thing called the rectangular hotspot tool right there. And that's going to allow me to draw rectangular hotspots around my navbar buttons. I'll do that. I'm also going to draw one up here. Any place where I think I might need a click. can do the same thing for each one of these. Let them link to something. So anything you might think needs to be interactive, you can do it that way. All right, so step one is creating the hotspots themselves. Step two is actually telling where the hotspot is going to go. So I switch from the rectangular tool to the pointer tool. There's this little arrow here. This guy. There. And I'll click on the top logo here. Your logo always links you to the home page, right? So it's really linking to itself in this case, which is no big deal. But it becomes much more important when I'm linking, we actually link it to the address of the page. So we enter the page name to which we want to create a link. The home page is always called index.html. My about page doesn't exist yet, but I already know I'm going to call it about.html because that makes a lot of sense. It makes sense in a lot of different ways. First, it's easy for me to find and understand where that page is and what it does. But also, when your website is being indexed by search engines, the search engines reference the names of pages to understand what is actually in that page. It's very important. So the About page, I've named it about.html. The Work page, you can bet I'm going to call it work.html. Even though it says our work, I'll just keep it simple. Support us, I'll keep it support.html. No extraneous characters, and very important, all lowercase letters for file names. Do not use titles. You cannot use spaces ever. They will not work. They will break when you publish the site to the web. So no spaces, no capitals. Capitals will work, but it will be difficult for you to remember if you capitalize something or not. So the rule is don't capitalize. Whenever you're writing your code, you don't capitalize anything in code, everything lowercase. Contact.html. And also no special characters other than an underscore or a dash. So if I wanted to if I wanted to say contact us, I would do contact underscore us. The underscore is accessed in the keyboard as what might be the minus symbol, shift minus. That gives me an underscore. I'll just leave contact for now. And then for these down here, I'll link them to, I'll link all of them to the work page. And work. Because you often have alternate links. Maybe I'll just go that about. So it makes it more relevant. And then this, how can you make a difference? I'll go to support. Like, people have different ways of getting information they look for. Some people automatically go to the navigation. Some people browse the page, find something interesting, click on it. So we give different ways of accessing the same information. It's just different modes of moving through the information. That's why it's an interface, right? Some people we design for different users' needs in mind. The browser, the quick searcher, so on and so forth. So now I got my page hooked up. All this stuff is good. I'm in pretty good shape. Okay. So let's, so now we got our page, we got our first page done. Let's move on to the second page. So I know what I need to create. I've got an about page I need to make because I'm linking to it. I'm linking to about a channel, but it doesn't actually exist yet. These are all my existing pages. Only one. Everything else is an image, right? I can create a folder here to put my images into to make my life easier. So stay organized. I can click those and I'll drag them into images. You'll notice that the moment I do that, it says, do you want to update the links to files? Because this image, my homepage image, is actually, it thinks it's at the same level as index. And if I move it to the images folder, it changes the reference to it. Note, right now it says img source home.png. If I update it, it's going to say images/home.png, meaning it's in the images folder with the name home.png. That's cool. Now, next up, I want to create an about page, right? So I've got all this work done. I've got all these links created. I actually can recreate. I can reuse them. I'll do that. Go over here to my pages, my files tab, and I'll right-click that, edit, duplicate. Duplicates it. I'll call it about. And notice, like right here, I've got all the other names of pages I'm going to need as well. So I might as well go ahead and do that. That's about, work, support, and contact. So to rename the file, you just sort of click and move away a little bit. So now I got all these pages. I need to open them up and then replace the image that's inside it. I'm going to be replacing it with these. Dreamweaver has a really handy function that allows you to just simply click on the image itself. In this case, I'm making sure I am in the About page, even though it has the home image in it. I'm going to double click on that home image in the About page to replace it with my About image. That pops in there. I don't need these anymore. Get rid of them. They will remain on my home page. I'll open up Work. I'll double click that image to replace it. Cool. Next up, is support. Double click to, I called it donate, okay. Call the image donate. It doesn't really matter what the image is called. It's going to be buried in there anyway. And then finally contact, open that up, double click it, and select it. Get rid of these hotspots, we just don't need anything. So what's actually working here is I can test my work by using the preview in browser function. So Dreamweaver has a function that allows me to actually preview it live. I'll go to File, Real-Time Preview in Safari. There it is. So I'm looking at it in my browser the same way any user would. Dreamweaver launches like a mini web server. That's why it's a real-time preview. And if you updated it, changes would occur live in this browser window. But notice that when I roll over the parts of the image, the pointer goes hot. In other words, it becomes a little finger. You click on About. There it is. Work. Support us. Contact us. I got a little sloppy there with my highlights, but it's working pretty well. If I wanted to fix those, I could. Notice I didn't highlight support us, so maybe I want to fix that right now. I'll go to the nav. Turn on that. I'll export it again. You can always overwrite your existing file and it'll update for you automatically. So I'm overwriting the donate file, replacing it, and then back here, if I just hit refresh and go to support us, there it is. The highlight is the correct one. And all that really happened was I replaced the image. So you can set this structure up and then swap out your images as you make changes. And then last but not least is the contact us. I can also fix that one because I'm like that. I'll turn on the contact us highlight, turn that off, export, click export, and that was contact. Was it? No. Contact, yes. Contact us. Highlight off. Update. And export. Quick export. And contact. Back here, things are working. Yes. And if you think about it, you could simulate further interactions, right? Like if I go back to my home page, I got these hotspots too, right? So I had them linked to different spots. I can get, you know, buck wild and start hooking up different parts of the interface to get me back home, like these little breadcrumbs, right? I could hot link that to make a better interactive experience. So if I go back to Dreamweaver, and I really want to do a better job, I'll say, okay, this needs one too. If I'm going to create a hotspot for home, click on that, make that hotspot, and I'll choose index.html. And you could theoretically copy this code. We haven't discussed code yet, but I could do that just so you guys know, and it'll be a faster way of updating it rather than just using the visual interface. So now I got it. And my little breadcrumb should work. Yes, my breadcrumb works. Everywhere I go, refresh it. Sometimes the cache gets stuck. And refresh it a few times and you can go back and work it. So now I'll launch it again. Save, save all. Okay, so now it's all working. So you really start to get the feel of how your site works, right? And whether it's designed, you can actually test it with individuals, you test with people, and lots of deeper types of interactions can take place here. You know, you can do rollovers, you can do all sorts of cool stuff. That is not required for this. The website might indicate, you know, talk about rollovers as possibilities of things to do, but this is what our goal is, to have a mock-up of this kind of fidelity. You know, your design is going to differ, of course, because it's appropriate to what you're doing. What's important to me is what you're doing. Okay. So some other things to keep in mind. You say untitled document. You can control the name of the file in your properties palette. If you're not selecting anything in particular, you'll have a document title. We usually do things like contact us, 1 degree. We'll have the name of the entity, would be the home page, and any further pages would have the name of entity second. So there I go. Fix up those titles. You can access the title when you don't have anything part of the image selected or anything like that. The name of the page goes first in the title, and then everything else. This is our work. Document titles are important because they are how search engines identify what's on the page. Search engines are really important. And you also just don't have your thing saying untitled document. Because the title of the page is different from the name of the file. The name of the file is just how it's saved on the server on your drive. The title of the document is how the browser views it and reads what the page consists of. And usually you'd see that in the Chrome of the browser tab. You'd see that kind of stuff. Support us. So now you see that untitled document in my tab up there. As I refresh this now, it has a correct title in it. So it's more professional and more functional. All right. Yes.
I missed how you put all the images into the local files.
How to put it in the file. Okay, yes, no problem. So Saradina's question was how to put the images actually into the page. Great question. So we have a number of different ways of doing it. So I have a new page here. I've got a new HTML file. If I have my design view turned on, I'm in split view or just design view, I can just drag any of these images from the files.
No, my question is how you got the files into the local file.
Great question. Okay. So now that's a whole different story. So that's setting up a site, right? From starting, let's say step one is I exported the images. You got that right, right, Saradina? You got how to export the images out of Photoshop.
Yeah.
Okay. So to review that, we're exporting. Quick exporting as PNG. Picking a folder. That has to be exercise 2. And donate or contact, right? Replace, export to there. So those images are residing on the server in exercise 2 images. So let's say I'll put them in project 1 practice so we can make another version of it, right? Just so we can demo. So they're here. Sorry, Dina. There's project 1 practice images, nothing else. So in Dreamweaver, I want to create a site that is going to allow, I'll close all this after I save all. Close all. I'm going to create a new site definition. Site, new site. Be kind of like a project, if you will. And I'll call it project 1. Practicing. And project 1 practice is there. So I'm picking that folder, not the images folder, because I want the images to be inside, images folder to be inside my project. So I'm picking a folder that is one level above. The images might be, I could conceivably pick that, but I want to have something more logical, right? So you always pick a folder as your site root. It's never a single file. It's always a folder because websites consist of many, many files. Practical and practice, I'm choosing that folder and I'm saying OK, save it. Saves it. And I'm in what? I have nothing right now. So I've only got my images. They're there now. And right now, I'm ready to create a new HTML file. Sardina here. File new HTML. Create it. I'm going to save it immediately right in that same folder, Project One Practice, calling it index. And then I'm ready to start building the page. And start mapping again. Map. Hotspot. Hotspot.